All right, so as you can see from the video clip that the air will be a school for kind of isolated students in the remote areas. Or they can also say like it's a kind of remote classroom for isolated students. So for the word remote, which means somewhere quite distant, a place which is very distant or very far away, especially from those prosperous areas, like from those places far away from cities or from downtown areas. And for isolated, which means you are kind of being kept alone from as you can see here, will be kept alone from the city area or from the downtown area, as you can see, right? So as you can see, those kids try to learn on the radio, just like nowadays we try to learn online as well. But the reasons are quite different because they are isolated in terms of their locations or in terms of where they live. But nowadays we are isolated from each other because we had to be kind of kept away from each other because of like COVID-19 or because of the pandemic. So you can see a very interesting things here, like they have something in common. We all had to be isolated from each other and we had to learn not in person or kind of face to face. We had to use another kind of tool to learn something. And in this case, we learned online and they was learned on the radio, all right? And so you can think about, imagine for a student here in Taiwan, it's quite different for a student to learn there in Australia in the past as well. And who might be with you in your classroom? Probably can try to think about this question a little bit. So how many students will we have in a classroom? So please type your answer here. How many classmates will you have in your class? I think the number probably will be a little bit different depending on which school you are studying in. Yeah, some people type like 40, 30, or 35, about 30, 40, 28, 27, 27, 30. Then let's try to think about this question a little bit. Will your classmates be with you all day long from the very first class to the last class? If yes, please type 1. If no, please type 2. Which means you had the same classmates for all the classes. If yes, please type 1. If no, please type 2. Yeah, some of you type 1 and some of you type 2. Well, nowadays, as you kind of when the new semester starts, probably you will notice that you will have different classmates for different classes. And basically, there will be the cases in Australia as well. Basically, they will have different classmates for different classes, depending on which class you choose to study and also which kind of major you choose to take. And in this case, probably you will have different kind of classmates. And also in high school, because we have some elective courses, like the one I mentioned before, like probably you had to pick out one of the research topics and also had to pick out one of the foreign languages. So in these two classes, probably you have different classmates because you have to choose the class you like based on your personal interest or based on your personal need, all right? So it depends on what subjects do you learn. Then let's think about what might be the 2 most important subjects here in Taiwan. So please type your answer. What might be the 2 important subjects here in Taiwan? The most important subjects. Probably type 2 subjects here. So please type your answer in the chat box. What might be the most important subject here in Taiwan? Some people type like probably Japanese and English. Science, yeah, probably English and math. English and science, math, English, math and science, math, English, math and science, math and science, math and English. So probably most of your type I think the most like the top choices will be like math and science basically, and probably some people type like English and Chinese and some other objects as well. All right. Then we can think about like when does school start and end? So please think about what might be the time you come to school and what might be the time you leave school. So please type your answer in the chat box as well. What might be the time you come to school and what might be the time you leave school? Oh, I mean like the time, like you will come to school like at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and when we leave school like at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. Yeah, probably mostly they'll be from 8 o'clock to 5 p.m., right? And then probably we can move on because I think the learning schedule here in Taiwan is kind of fixed. That basically we start very first class around 8 o'clock, and then we start probably had to leave school around like 5 p.m. All right, and then this is a very interesting questions because different schools, I mean like schools in different countries, like students in schools in different countries will have lunch in different places. Then let's think about the question we have here. Probably, I think probably you also had some different kinds of answer we have. You will have here. So where do you have your lunch? So please type the answer in the chat box. So where do you have your lunch? Yeah, probably most of you will type the answer classroom, right? But have you ever thought about why we should have our lunch in a classroom, not in a restaurant, not in a cafeteria? In the case of school, probably call a place we can have our lunch or have our meal. The place, like in Australia, they'll call this kind of place like cafeteria. I think also in the States or in some places around the world, they also call this kind of student restaurant or the restaurant for students and teachers call the kind of place like cafeteria. So it's kind of interesting that like mostly here in Asia, a lot of students will enjoy their lunch in Asia. I think probably in Taiwan mainly. Because if you have the chance to study in Japan or you go to one of high schools in Japan, you'll notice that some of them will have their lunch in their classroom, but they also have their own school cafeteria. So they will go to this kind of place to have their lunch as well. And for the case in Australia, there will be something like they will also have their lunch. I think almost everywhere. There's some of them will choose to have the lunch on the grassland or outdoors to enjoy the sunshine. And yeah, I'll just find a bench or find a place to take a seat and enjoy the lunch and kind of chatting with their classmates or chatting with their friends together. And also for the case in Germany, because I once went there as well, and in their school, basically they will also have their lunch for like also almost everywhere. But they also have one place like a cafeteria for students to enjoy their lunch. But basically their noon break will be quite short, not like the one here in Taiwan can last about like 1 hour. But in the cases like in Germany, I remember the noon break just about 30 minutes, I guess, and also in Australia, 30 minutes, and in Japan, I think also 30 minutes. So they will kind of they don't have a kind of habit or they kind of thing or like taking a nap at the noontime. They'll be kind of very Asian style actually. All right. And then we can think about this question. So, how do you go to school? So, please type your answer. You come to our school, probably you have to you go to school by bus or on foot, or your parents will drive you here, or you have to ride a bicycle, to ride a bike, or you need to do things like some, probably choose some other kinds of vehicles. Yeah, mostly by bus, car, bike, car. I think for most of you, like your parents probably will drive you here because since our school is also kind of remote, a remote school, especially while really far away from the downtown area. I think it takes about 1 hour ride from the train station or high-speed rail station to reach our school, ride a car. And then or your dad will drive you. That's lovely. And probably we can think about the very last question. So, why do you choose our school to study for your high school life? So, please type your answer in the chat box. So, what makes you choose our school as the choice for high school? So, please also type your answer in the chat box. Yeah, some people probably mentioned that because our school is quite close to your house. Yeah, there will be a good reason. Since you can save a lot of time and then probably can sleep a little bit late. Yeah, probably like in terms of distance, right? And some people probably pick up the answer like because some special courses here in our school. Yeah, so probably students here in Taiwan basically will pick up the schools based on certain kind of reason, like probably in terms of location, because the school is quite close to my house, and probably in terms of the courses or curriculum design, probably there will be a you enjoy or you like some of the courses we have here in our school and probably think our school is quite new, so that might be the reason you want to study here. Right? So that basically will be all your answers, like new school, courses, distance, location, things like that. Then the very last question. So what might be the time that you think will be okay with you for traveling to school? How long will be that? For example, you think that probably 30 minutes will be fine for me to travel from our house to our school. 5 minutes? 5 minutes quite short. So the time probably you can tolerate about 5 to 10 minutes, all right? Still quite sure, 10 minutes, 20, 1 hour, 40 minutes, 1 hour, 10 to 15 minutes, 40 minutes, 3 hours. I think 3 hours would be too long if you had to wake up every morning and travel for 3 hours to your school. More than an hour, 30 minutes, 20 minutes. So basically the time probably you think will be okay with you will be about like probably less than half an hour, which means no more than 30 minutes. But actually for some students in other countries, probably 30 minutes will still be quite short because like in the case like when I was in Osaka, Japan, when I was there, basically their high school student had traveled about 1 hour to reach their school. So every morning, as you can imagine, like in Japan, usually in the morning there'll be a lot of students kind of swarming into the trains and they will get very crowded and they have to kind of stay in the train for an hour to reach their school. And also in Australia, probably the case is also about 1 hour. And also in Germany, I think also we spent about also nearly 1 hour. And basically all they had to wake up very early, like they had to wake up at 6 or 6:30. And then they will start their very first class basically roughly at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, just like the one period we have in Taiwan. All right, so probably later on we're going to discuss some more things about the differences or probably kind of different learning style, different kinds of learning styles or learning live in schools around the world. All right, so probably we can stop here a little bit, and tomorrow we will have a grammar quiz. So make sure you review all the important information or all the important grammar points by yourself first, or you can also check the YouTube videos online as well. And tomorrow we'll start from the vocab quiz. So make sure you get ready for that, right? So if you have no more questions, probably we can stop here and then see you tomorrow. Bye.